Sumter Today is presented by USC Sumter, Sumter Tourism, and Prisma Health.
When we look at the sun, we see the sun as it was 8 minutes ago. It's 8 light minutes away. When we look at the planets, they are hours away. Now, when we look at even the nearest star is over 4 light years away. We see it as it existed years ago. And it turns out there are a class of objects called quasars that they appear just like a star, but we know that they're extremely far away by the way the spectrum is shifted. The farthest quasar I've ever shot is 8.5 billion light years away, which is half the time, more than half the time back to the Big Bang. So I'm looking at light that is more than half as old as the universe when that little image registers on my camera. And I can't think of anything that I'd rather be doing. So my grandmother was at the house a lot, and she basically raised me and my brother. And she would take me, when I was like 2 years old, she would take me out onto the front porch and show me the moon and the stars and everything. Matter of fact, she said my first word was moon. She introduced me to it, and every book I could get on it, I read that and electronics. I was fascinated with electronics, and so that's how I wound up in the career that I was, which I started work at South Carolina ETV back in '78, I guess it was. Spent the last 16 years there as the vice president of the network, in charge of all the engineering. So I designed TV stations and radio studios and all that sort of thing. The astronomy always was there, and didn't have a whole lot of time for it, but when I turned 40 back in 1998, I thought, I'm going to get serious about this and buy me a decent telescope. And then as soon as I got started in that, I found that photography was where my interest really lied. So I started looking for, back in the late 90s, looking for some land that I could rent from a farmer, maybe the corner of a cornfield or something like that, where I could set up a shed that would have all the equipment in it aligned and ready to go, and then all I have to do is come in, roll the roof back, and turn things on, and I'd be ready to shoot. There's a place on the internet called Astromart, which is basically like eBay, but specifically for astronomy stuff. And there was an ad on there one day, and it said free land for your observatory. And I thought, well, this is cool, but it's probably out in California or something like that. And so it had a phone number. It was a local phone number, and I called, and it was a guy named Gene Hunter. And he was into astronomy, and he had cleared this one little area right here, about a 1 acre plot, and had put together or had poured a concrete pier for his telescope. And so he was basically just looking for somebody to come share his dark sky sight with him. So we went to lunch a couple of times, and over the table at Waffle House, we designed a building. And so it took us, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to build the first one, which is the first one you come to down here. And it was a lot smaller back then. It's been expanded since then. So over the next couple of years, we grew from 2 of us to 10 of us, and from 1 building to 5 buildings. And so each building is kind of similar to this. It has 2 telescope piers in it. Most of us up here are astrophotographers. Since the computers run the show, basically, once I get an image started, that gives us a lot of free time, and several of us play guitar, and we get out on the deck at night and, pick and grin, so to speak. And we cook out a lot up here. We sit and just chat and count satellites going over, and watch for the International Space Station coming over. Matter of fact, it comes over twice tonight.